tracking, it is a fine motor skill, but it's one of the first skills that we learn as a baby. So we want to make sure that all babies, all toddlers have developed this skill of visual tracking before we move on to the skill of reading. I know there's really a pressure for families. They feel it, they shouldn't feel it, but they do feel this pressure to get their child writing their name and reading words and knowing letters. But visual tracking really comes first. So visual tracking is the ability to follow my moving pencil. That's called visual tracking. It's called it's called pursuit, visual pursuit. But what we also have is, as part of visual tracking, we have visual saccades. So being able to jump from here to here to here to here to here to here. So saccades is a jumping movement. What we've got, unfortunately, with screen time is we may have a lot of saccades, so a lot of jumping, watching visuals in front of us. But even when we're looking at a screen, if we're using a lot of iPad time, you can see that this is what's called landscape. So even as you're watching this line, you're moving your eyes from left to right. If I turn this though, you're not using your eyes from left to right as much. And then if you think about it, I don't have my phone on me, but imagine this is the size of a phone. Children are only watching this much visual space. So even if we were to look at this whiteboard, they're getting more visual tracking on an iPad or a whiteboard than what they are if this was a phone. But we know that we're seeing children as they're picked up and dropped off to kindergarten. Families are handing their phone and children are quickly spending hours, way more than what the World Health Organization recommend, spending hours on a small device, not moving their eyes from side to side. So if we look at the muscles of the eyes, the muscles need to build up strength to look up and down, left and right. We're noticing, if you look at children's faces over the last few years, their faces are looking different. If you look, it's hard to see on this blurry camera, but I have an indent in my eye socket and then my cheekbone comes out because my cheekbones have muscles from talking a lot, from moving my eyes a lot. But if we're getting children that aren't using these muscles, you can see that the children that are not using these muscles much, it's quite flat in their face. They don't have much of a cheekbone when you're looking at their facial expression. So I feel they're not getting the visual tracking. We're not using our eyes and building up these eye socket muscles. And we're also not talking much. So we're not using our language skills. So we're not building up the cheekbones of our muscles. So if we know in the research that we build up our proximal in the middle of our body muscles first, and then we build up our distal movement on the sides of our bodies next, if we're not developing our visual tracking and our mouth muscles and we're not developing our core strengths, then we're going to find it very tricky to use our fine motor skills. But that seems to be sometimes where we feel the pressure the most. So with visual tracking, we want to do activities that are going to encourage this action of pursuit. We want to also do activities that are going to encourage actions of saccades. I'm going to show you. We can do this simply just with a car. So I tend to use a car. So I can watch the movement of a car going across. That's called pursuit, visual pursuit. But then I can jump it from one spot to another, and then that's called saccades. The idea is we want children to be following the movement of the car rather than just getting their hand to move. And you'll notice that some children will really struggle coordinating their eye movement separate to their hand. So if you're noticing that the children aren't following the movement of the car, or if you've got a puppet and they're not following the movement of the puppet, or if you've got a torch and they're not following the movement of the torch, I just want you to test something for me. This is in my MIP program. So if you need the picture, I can send you the picture. There's two parts to this action. So the first part of the action is I want you to hold, sorry, I'm about to sneeze. Can't keep going. I want you to hold your hand in front of your face, and I want you to keep your hand still and keep looking at your hand. So this is requiring, can I stabilize and keep my hand still? and just look with my eyes. So that's similar to with the saccade. Can I move my hand, stop my hand, and look without also having to move my hand at the same time? And then the second part of this action is, can I now keep my chin still, move my hand, and watch my moving hand? So do I have that skill of visual pursuit? And can I, in all directions, follow the movement of my hand without moving my chin? Now, I've been doing this exercise for a very long time, over 10 years been doing this exercise. And I used to be able to get some of the children, well, half of the children in kindergarten to be able to do that movement. We don't really need that movement smoothly until we're 5, moving into the end of kinder, start of primary. The nerve-wracking part about this skill since screen time, so over the last 6-7 years, is I'm very surprised if I find maybe 1 or 2 children in your class who can do it. So that's the decline that we're seeing. And that's where I start to get nervous, because if I can't keep my eyes and my hands separate, then I'm going to struggle with the skill called hand-eye coordination. And we need hand-eye coordination to be able to throw and catch. I need hand-eye coordination. I need hand-eye coordination to be able to use scissors and paper, because my hand needs to move separately to what my eyes can see. I need hand-eye coordination when I drive a car. And that's what really worries me, is if we don't have children who have strong hand-eye coordination now, and we have children who are struggling with visual processing, so following a moving object, looking around to look for danger, then we're going to drive a car. So it's really important that when we look at the programs that we're running here, it's not just for now, it's for the prevention of many, many years to come.